Hey everyone. Today, as we were looking at the book of Ephesians in our series, The Bible One Book, One Verse at a Time, we catch a glimpse of Paul's heart, the man that wrote this book. He's in prison and he's writing to a group of churches within a particular region, and he's revealing the things that not only drive him as an individual and help to keep him grounded as he's stuck in prison because he's been claiming that Jesus is Lord and Caesar is not, but also the things that he longs for those who follow Jesus along with him to experience. Now, the book of Ephesians is the first of what we call the prison letters. It's a letter that was written by Paul while he was in prison, most likely under house arrest in Rome in around 60 AD, the early 60 AD. Paul longs for them as he's there. He wants to help them and to encourage them. Now, this book is basically split into two parts, much like most of Paul's letters are. The first part explains and expresses the incredible gift that we have been given through Jesus by God, and the ways in which we are welcomed to Him out of the things that we have been trying to do ourselves, or that we have burdened ourselves with, or even just the brokenness that we have been surrounded with because of what other people have done for us. The first half of Paul's books often express those things. And then the second half expresses what we then should do because of what God has done for us, how we should live in this. And in the middle is this prayer that Paul gives about longing for them to experience and to truly know what it means to feel the love of God that is in Christ because of what He has done for us as expressed in this particular community. Now, in Ephesians, Paul emphasizes our reliance on God for all that we have, how God, even from the very beginning, through Jesus, has been working to bring us to Him, how all the way from creation He's been working and calling and choosing and inviting and compelling and urging and bringing us to Him. And all of these things mean that what we have from Christ has nothing to do with what we have done, but it's simply a gift of grace, which I think brings us to the key verse or verses in Ephesians. This is Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8 and following. For it is by grace that you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves, it's a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. And since we haven't done anything to deserve the gift that we have been given, well, then we are all equal. And then we can live in a community as if we all have the same standing. And that leads us into the second half of Paul's letter. And the second half of this letter is almost all about behavior in a community. It's almost all about relationships. It's about unity, understanding that we are all equal before God, equally guilty in essence, equally failures, but also equally forgiven and equally loved. And so we then treat each other with that kind of respect and love. Greed has no place in our community. Anger has no place in our community. Resentment has no place in our community. The ways in which we take advantage of one another at times has no place in a Christian community. The ways in which we live for ourselves and not seek to serve other people, that has no place in a Christian community. Paul says we need to live as if we really believe that everything we have, even our relationship with God, is simply a gift given to all of us equally. And that drives us to be the kind of community that sees and values and loves each other equally. And being the kind of community that lives that way is the way in which we then learn to really understand, or better put, is how we come to know and experience what God's love really looks like. Which is why this prayer, I think, in the middle of this book, as we move from what Jesus did for us to what we should do, is so powerful. And so I want to leave you with this prayer. May Christ dwell in your hearts through faith. And may you, being rooted and established in love, have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, so that you may be filled to the measure of the fullness of God.